Ever heard of a brand whose strategy is to capitalize on the hatred of their brand? Probably not, right? But what if we tell you that this very thing is the magic formula of a brand that was hated and called ugly for years? We're talking about an American footwear company that today almost everyone in the world knows as Crocs. Hello viewers, today we've brought you how Crocs made millions from being ugly. So stay tuned if you're curious and let's dive right into it. The once widely mocked shoe is now adorned by the British royalty. From Prince George to Post Malone, Crocs as a brand has turned on its heels to turn back from the brink of bankruptcy and become a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded company. Let's find out how. The start of the journey, 2002. Launched in 2002 by Lyndon Hanson, George Bodeker Jr., and Scott Siemens, Crocs was originally developed as a boating shoe. The trio introduced the shoe to the world at the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show in Florida, and the 200 pairs that they produced were all sold. Soon enough, the product started garnering attention from non-boating customers. This led the company to showcase Crocs at Shoe Market of the Americas, a prominent footwear exhibition, in March of 2003. The company received interest from major footwear retailers, and the sales soon began to climb. Crocs became immensely popular in a relatively short period of time. In their first year of operations, the company sold 76,000 pairs of shoes, generating $1.2 million in revenue. 3 years later, in 2005, the company sold 6 million pairs of shoes, generating a massive $108.8 million in sales. The company went public in 2006, raising over $200 million in its IPO. This was the biggest IPO in the history of the footwear industry in the world. The downfall, 2008. As they say, all good things come to an end. The unparalleled success of Crocs soon began to slow down. By 2008, many began to feel that Crocs were just a passing fad. The company realized that they needed to go beyond just comfort and functionality in order to gain mass appeal. In order to do so, the company embarked on an unprecedented growth spree, adding new product lines, distribution channels, and markets worldwide. Soon enough, Crocs had expanded into over 5,000 SKUs, thus saddling the company with excess inventory. Then came the 2008 financial crisis. Overnight, the sales of Crocs plummeted. Crocs lost a whopping $185 million that year. Crocs had fallen into a common pitfall for young companies, trying to be all things to all customers. Over the next few years, the company narrowed its focus. They shut down underperforming stores, optimized their distribution network, reduced overhead, and cut down their product line by over 80%. They doubled down on their flagship product, the clog. In 2019, clogs accounted for more than 60% of sales. Crocs began to innovate around the clog, turning it into a trendy statement shoe that stood for individuality and self-expression. Before we move on, if you're enjoying this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay updated. Now let's get back to the video. The turning point. At the heart of Crocs' success lies some marketing wizardry. From the start, the brand has been aware of how polarizing its shoes are, inspiring feelings of disgust from many consumers. But rather than defend itself against these antagonists, it has harnessed the hatred to create a narrative about how the shoe represents radical inclusivity and individuality. Around 5 years ago, the marketers at Crocs had a revelation. There was no point in trying to win over haters. Instead, they would focus on how unique the shoes were. Heidi Cooley, Crocs CMO, said, "Yes, we're ugly. Yes, we're polarizing. But importantly, we're one of a kind." And what we recognized is that this is exactly what resonated with some of our fans. They too see themselves as one of a kind. Crocs launched a campaign in 2017 that focused on how much the brand had been bullied over the years, using spokespeople like Drew Barrymore and John Cena to speak about their own personal experiences with bullying. In many ways, the brand was calling its detractors bullies. The strategy seemed to work. After several years of losses, Crocs grew by 6% in 2018, and 13% the year after. By 2020, Crocs was described by many analysts as the it shoe of the pandemic, even as the rest of the retail industry as a whole was struggling. Act fast, collaborate often. Crocs has also been quick to embrace its celebrity fans, many of whom style the shoes to fit their personal aesthetic. Diplo's Crocs fit into his psychedelic, hippie style. Zooey Deschanel wears hers with vintage dresses. The Post Malone clogs, for instance, came in black and pink, with a chunky sole and a draw cord that gave them an industrial chic look. Justin Bieber's Crocs were lavender and covered with oversized charms. Meanwhile, actress Priyanka Chopra was photographed wearing Crocs that had been customized with glitter, and in 2020, she became the brand's ambassador. Heidi Cooley said, "We don't work with partners who aren't authentic fans of the brand. We make sure that these influencers were already wearing our shoes before we approach them. These collaborations have been very successful, often selling out in days, and they've brought in thousands of new customers who likely never would have considered wearing those shoes before. Most companies work hard to establish brand recognition with consumers, but since launching in 2002, Crocs has never had to do that. As Michelle Poole, Crocs president, said, "We've never had trouble with brand awareness. You can show our iconic silhouette throughout the world, and everywhere people can identify it as Crocs, which is unusual."